Hello everyone, alright, so today I want to talk to you about a short topic about a fun little detail of game design. So, ABZU is a game that plenty of people have talked about, and with good reason, but most of the discussion is about things such as the art style, or the similarities to Journey, or other things along those lines. Well, today I want to talk about a design choice that I feel is somewhat overlooked. Now, I'm sure a lot of people have already noticed the detail I'm going to point out, but I want to explain why I feel it is probably more important than people realize after just a quick glance. The detail in ABZU I want to talk about is the fact that through the game, you are seeing the changing of seasons. Now, I know at first it doesn't seem like a changing color palette and a few little details mean very much in a game like ABZU, but I want to point out why I think it is very important. Now, to start out, let's look at the actual details of the game that convince you that there is even a changing of seasons in the game at all, before diving into all the meanings and implications of it. We start out with spring. We see our character in the middle of the ocean, we dive beneath the waves, and begin to swim. We see a hole in the rocks, choose to swim through it, and what do we see? Green. Lots of green. Not only is there green though, we also see life everywhere. There are schools of fish, consisting of bright colors. Everywhere we look is full of life, from kelp and grass and fish, all the way down to starfish and sea urchins climbing on the rocks. This opening area is the embodiment of life and has sort of a rejuvenating effect, just like the real life spring. Moving on to summer, we see the transition after that first coral tower, you know, the one that summons the stingrays. Well, we enter into an area that feels much warmer in color. There's more yellows and just a noticeable amount of less green. And while there's still lots of life, it's not the explosion of life we were seeing before. There's inclusion of those warm colors like I mentioned, and it almost began to remind me of a beach, sunny, warm type of a feeling. And it's kind of portraying the fun in the sun type of an idea. Then, when you move further into the game, into autumn, we see a very drastic change in the color palette. Add on top of this, we begin to see fewer fish, and fish we do see tend to be colors that match the theme, such as yellows and reds. Now, I know I'm spending a lot of time showing these changes, and you're asking, so what? But I promise I'm going somewhere, so if you can bear with me for just a little bit longer, we're almost done. So, moving on, when we move into the winter, things become more cold. We move into the deep ocean, and that alone causes a change in the feeling right away. You add in the fact that there's parts of the grounds that actually look like they're covered in what equates to underwater snow. Not to mention the general pale look of both the scenery and the wildlife adds to this cold, lifeless feel that is commonly associated with the winter months. Now, there are other details I could go into, but I feel like you're getting the point here, so I'm going to actually get to my point. Now, with all of the details, I can finally start hinting at the importance of these changes to the game as a whole. I am going to get to the last few bits of the game here in just a second, but I want to start pointing out my ideas first. Now, the game of ABZU is about discovery and rediscovery, in my opinion. You start out exploring, not really sure what you are doing out here in the ocean or what is exactly going on. You are innocent, almost ignorant, and are out to just explore. This innocence and wonder is represented by spring. It allows you to feel welcomed into this wonderful world of life and lets you immerse yourself into it. Then, after we start getting hints to something larger happening, we transition into summer. Things are still fun and whimsical, but there's also a slight curiosity in the back of your head asking, I wonder what the importance of that great white shark is, or I wonder what is actually going on here with these ruins. Then, as the story begins to pick up and become a little more clear, we move into autumn. At this point, the player is starting to lose their ignorant bliss of the world, and while enjoying themselves, begin to see hints of something deeper going on here. We get clues to the ancient civilization that left these ruins, and we realize the shark is somehow tied to that culture. Then we move into the winter areas, into the deep sea. This is where the whimsy and magic have begun to disappear. We encounter the first real threats to us. We begin to realize that these things left by the ancient culture are dangerous, and that the life that drew us in at the start has begun to disperse and feel less comforting. Even the wildlife in general is more dangerous. Then we reach the ancient ship. This is where things get much more intense. We, as the player, begin to feel more on edge. We aren't just exploring for fun and adventure anymore, but because we feel we have to deal with this menace. We realize things about our character and how we aren't what we always appeared. We are heading into the ominous void, and then we die. This is where the last part of the game comes in. The last part of the game takes us into a forgotten paradise with life thought long extinct. This is a world free from time, and this is a place of rebirth for the player. Our sense of exploration and adventure comes flooding back in just like the floodwaters that fill the ruins. We get to leave the water for the first time. Everything seems new and exciting. It's like a new spring, showing how life perseveres even through the toughest of winters. We made it through the death of the new year to be sprung back into a joyous New Year's spring, and we suddenly realized that winter can't hold us down forever. From here, after exploring our new springtime area in the ruins, we travel through all the seasons once again, but this time quicker and without fear, as we now know that the changing seasons are not a path towards the end of life, but instead a journey to be taken, and we know that life will continue on, and with that we find the ancient ship again at the end of our trip through the seasons, where we face it, and we smash through the gloom that it represents and enjoy ourselves once again. But that's what I think anyways. If you think I'm wrong, I would love to hear about it in the comments and would love to hear your ideas. I think this game is definitely open to interpretation. If you do agree with me, I would love to hear that too. Otherwise, I would appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe. And if you want, you could always check out my other videos. Otherwise, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.